That's my chain. Talk shit at this part about how like the world didn't see it coming. That's my chain. Now you know this fresh, right? You didn't know. I'm so wild. They call me for local, so local. Where they do it.
Hello.
Hi, welcome to episode 3 of Two Square Girls, where we discuss all the things you never wanted to know.
And never cared to hear.
And never cared to know. Oh man, M squared here. Wow, what an intro. I'm glad we figured that out. Being so wild to that, you're called for loco. Yams, what drink would you want your personality and your individual person to be named after?
I feel that I would be like a minty margarita, and that's also like M squared, so
Ooh,
it fits.
Minty margarita. I like that. It's got a little buzz to it.
A little spice.
A little spice, a little seasoning sprinkled on. Mine would be Diet Woke, I think. Like Diet Coke, but not.
Does that come with a side of fries?
It comes with a side of air fries, potato, or what's it called? Sweet potato air fries, because they're gross.
I feel like kale air fries would fit better.
Oh, yeah, kale chips.
I thought we were beyond the wokeness this year. Like 2020 just kind of went overboard on the wokeness.
I that's probably been the case for a while. I think it started with with these movements, and then when people started using these movements as backdrops for their Snapchat stories and their Instagram stories and their other various stories and their fleets, because now that Twitter has fleets, that's a thing.
What do people even post on their fleets?
I don't know that they do anymore. I think it was a passing fancy of this particular platform, which is funny because I don't think that people use Twitter as much because it's like text based for the most part. So people don't like reading or writing. So I don't know that it's going to catch on.
I feel like that's the reason people prefer Twitter, though, that it's less like putting up photos of yourself and more like intellectual, or sometimes not very intellectual at all, just verbal diarrhea, but like a diary of your verbal diarrhea.
Yeah, there's all sorts of rants, and people do the whole like 1/ like whatever number, however many tweets they need to tell their story, and then it's a whole log thing, and then there's fun response things, but we digress. Like getting back to the problem, or rather the issue of wokeness. And I think we're post woke, or most of us are post woke, in the sense that no one uses it anymore. It's a very washed term, and it has been for a little over a year now.
I feel like QAnon supporters probably use the term woke.
I think they use it in a very like derogatory way. When they're like sarcastically referring to people's their third eye or whatever, which I don't think QAnon believers even know what third eye is or have any sort of reference to anything of the sort. But
they see a lot of the anti-vaxxer, like vaxxer moms, in support of QAnon. Like there's like a connection.
There needs to be like a Venn diagram of all of these demos, all these demographics of people, and see where they interlap, so we can find the culprit. What was the one true?
Common ground?
Yeah, what was the common thing that ties all these people together? It's got to be something.
They
all ate that E. coli romaine lettuce. That's what it is.
They all didn't get a chance to eat the Popeye burger.
It turned them into really angry and resentful individuals in society who have to take it out by talking about all of these things which are not real. Again, coming back to this question of wokeness, though, I'm kind of glad that it's no longer a term that's used. I think I need to retire my stay woke air freshener that's in my car. That's been hanging from my rear view mirror for like over a couple of years now. So that needs to go.
Yeah, it's time to freshen up the air with I don't know, what can we replace wokeness though? Can we go back to being ironic? That was a great time.
Post ironic was a good time because it was still technically irony, but calling it post ironic made it seem very like avant-garde and sort of like alternative.
Yeah. Let's
like
just go back to the alt vibes.
It was like the Daria generation. Do you remember that show, Daria?
Sick Sad World.
Yes, Sick Sad World. How is that not a real TV show by now? We are living Sick Sad World. This could be, it's very meta, but my idea is that there's a Daria episode playing out there in the metaverse, and the Sick Sad World episode is featuring our very reality as it is now.
That
mind blown.
Whoa. That's definitely happening. In an alternate reality, people are just watching Earth and it's like their version of a horror movie.
Yeah, that too. I mean, I do firmly believe that this is like a Truman Show situation where we're all everyone's lives are just channels on television, for some alien society out there somewhere, and
Wow.
that alien society is laughing very hard.
They've each picked a favorite character, and it's like random people.
Yeah, or it's a Sims type situation where they're controlling certain people, and that would explain a lot, especially like things like elections, and
that would make a lot of sense. It'd be very like, or it could be very like Westworld. We don't even realize they come into our world and they interact with us, and then they leave.
Yeah, or this is all just one crazy dream we're living, and we've all just been dead for quite some time, or asleep,
And that's why we need to get woke to wake up.
Whoa, that's another one of those hits blunt meme moments.
Exhale the bullshit. Inhale the wokeness.
Oh man, I hope not. I don't know that people who use the word woke constantly are like just because if they were truly woke, they wouldn't feel about it all the time, as we're doing. So maybe we're not woke. I don't know.
People think they're so woke, yet they're sleeping on our podcast.
Ooh, good burn. I think that was that's true. If you're sleeping on the podcast, you're definitely not woke. Not that you would want to be, because we're in a post-woke world. So,
if they were to design like a woke character, like how they have like the stereotypical Chad character, what do you think the woke character would have in their hand?
Well, I see this more of like a superpower situation. So the woke person's superpower would just be to mute people in real life. Like all the Karens of the world would just be muted. like a in-person type like virtual thing where they just like poke the air and it's like an imaginary / invisible, not imaginary, but invisible woke button. And woke button, mute button.
Selective listening.
Selective listening. I think people who pretend or claim to be woke already have that quality, that particular superpower.
That's how you know then. That's how you know.
I think we would make a lot of money if we created a woke tea, like a drink. So not diet woke, but an actual tea that or something. That
and then you put it on a tee. Like a t-shirt. Put the woke tea on the tea.
Put like the tea bag that you would like a picture of the tea bag.
Or a picture of the tea.
See, I was thinking of like a drink type tea, and you're talking about a t-shirt type tea. We should combine the two.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like we can take the woke tea and put like a cup of that woke iced tea, and then
but the only way that this would be even remotely funny would be if both products were like not woke at all. Like t-shirts were made in like sweatshops and the tea itself was like not organic and filled with chemicals. That would be the only way that I would produce this product because the irony would just be so delicious. And the people who were buying it, it would be kind of like a screw you to them. Like, oh, you were trying to buy something that demonstrated your wokeness and now you can't.
But it's like secretly it's actually like sleepy tea from Walmart.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be one of those situations where we're just grifting people with our terrible
I feel like
products.
Every product like that's hype nowadays is like a grift in a way.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You know, we were just talking about the video game, the Balenciaga video game, where it's like in this not too distant dystopian future where like your clothing is as fluid as your gender, and all of these clothes can be different types of things, and it's a very impressively graphic game, but at the end of the day it's just to create more products for people to consume. And
those silver sneakers you sent me, I was like, whoa, those are very like space vibes.
That's not a sneaker. You're referring to the silver like
mirror
looking
chrome
shoe.
Yeah,
that's a $6,000 sculpture of one shoe, and it's under the objects tab on the Balenciaga website, and it's very it's very to me it was very problematic because I thought it was going to be a shoe I could wear, and I was like, well, would I have to buy two? Like, can I buy two sculptures and for a total of $12,000 and walk around with my chrome heavy ass?
Really taking useless products to the next level.
What a flex. Like, imagine walking into someone's home and instead of a wall of sneakers, which we see many people who have now, it's just one shoe that you can't even wear. That is like probably not the same material that it costs.
I feel like 10 years from now, people will have walls of sneakers, but like it'll only be sculptures of sneakers.
Ooh, just a wall of sculptures that are sneakers. That's a statement. That's a real installation piece. I think I could see that at MoMA. I could see that. I could see that at the Natural History Museum. Here we see
50 years
a commentary on the consumerist culture, sneaker culture that we have cultivated in the new millennium. Yeah, that's very real.
Consumerism really is our culture. Do you think consumerism perpetuates woke culture, or do you think it's like the antithesis?
I think they feed off each other, because when people want to demonstrate that they're with it and that they get it and they are, with the times and are ethically consuming things, which, nobody can do 100% anyway, they buy things to indicate that. Like, that's why, that's how the trend, or more to the point, the practice of these like disposable shopping bags came from, because I don't think that most people anyway, don't use these plastic bags any less. They just end up paying for them if they're available. But we all at some point had, and still probably have, all of these
disposable
tote bags,
from
all over the place that we use to carry our groceries, that we forget inevitably and then have to buy more because we feel guilty if we get the plastic ones, even though it's cheaper than buying the tote bag every single time.
Or you'll pay like $25 for the tote bag and then you'll forget it in your car.
Yes, no, exactly. And then you go into the store and you can't buy a plastic bag at the store. People will look at you funny. So like, you have to get another tote bag, and it's a vicious cycle. And all of these tote bags can't be environmentally friendly either. Like, yeah, sure, they're reusable, but again, it's like
they're probably made in sweatshops.
Yeah, it's the whole steel reusable straw dilemma all over again. Like,
yeah, the plastic and container that the reusable straw comes in isn't really
Yeah,
helping the environment.
how many times do you have to use this straw before it becomes effectively environmentally conscious? Because it definitely took longer and more materials and effort and cost to produce those straws than it did to produce your plastic ones. So
it's kind of like it's like an interesting trade-off. It's kind of like how people drink almond milk because they don't want to, like some people are allergic. I get that to like regular milk, but some people prefer to have like almond milk and these other plant-based milks because they don't want to harm animals and the process of getting milk, and they think it's like a harmful to the animals and like in the cows to get the milk. But then they don't realize that almond milk is actually one of the biggest environmentally harming corporations that we have currently, like the production
is
of almond milk. Yeah, like
how so?
it's actually like really, really, really bad for the environment. I think I was reading like major portion of the pollution that we have that forms is due to.
Ooh, that makes me very sad because it sounds so wholesome. It's a real, it's a real conundrum when the name of something is very like misleading. And, now that I know that.
It takes 371 liters of water to produce 1 liter of almond milk.
What?
Yep, and it's taking a toll on the environment.
That makes me very upset. What about oat milk? Is there similar similar detriment to producing oat milk?
I don't think so. And oat milk tastes a lot better. Also,
it
cashew
does,
milk.
Doesn't it? I was skeptical at first, and then, as with anything, I took to the Twitter to see what the masses were saying about it. And no one was talking about this like a couple years back, and that's fine with me because how often do I think of these various milk products? But essentially that was how I got on the bandwagon. That's really how I get on the bandwagon with most of these things, is I hear about one person that I follow on the socials that I like lightweight see as a tastemaker for these things, and then I kind of just spiral into all of that. Well, this reminds me, or actually this leads me to wonder if we should create our own milk called woke milk.
Woke milk.
Woke milk, and it'll just be water.
It'll be like,
and it'll, the little tag on the tagline on the box will say, because you have to stay hydrated, and then there will be many, many Y's in the word hydrated.
You can just add like a 5-hour energy into it too.
That'll be like a little additional pack. If you get a 2-pack, you get a free 5-hour energy, or like one of those really bad for you like energy drinks.
Yeah, just to keep the woke going.
Woke milk. It'll on the bottom of the container, it'll just be like, it's just water. Yeah, that's a $1 million idea right there. I mean, they already have all these different types of waters, which we're going to actually, in one of our future episodes, we're going to be doing a taste test of these different brands of water, because
yes,
that's a very non-woke thing to do, is purchase
bottled water from every single company that's ruining the environment by bottling water.
Absolutely. And it's not going to be sparkling water. No. We're not going the LaCroix route. That's not happening.
Yeah, or Evian, which spelled backwards is naive.
Ooh, that's another Hits Blunt meme.
Have you ever had black water? I actually recently treated myself to some.
I was just going to say, that's another one of the, because it's technically water and not carbonated, that'll be our litmus for whether or not it's going to go in our taste test, is that if it can't be carbonated, it can be a different color, but there can't be any calories in it because it has to be just straight water. And then we're going to sit there and taste test all of these brands and then come to a conclusion that the project will be very hydrating forward. So it'll be good
hydrating.
For us. And then we'll come to the conclusion, of course, that it's all a scam. And that'll be very beneficial for you, the listeners, because then you'll know not to.
Have you had alkaline water?
Is that the same thing as reverse osmosis or distilled water?
No, this is like when they infuse minerals to elevate the pH, which I don't understand because your body naturally regulates the pH. So you having alkaline water is not going to have like an effect on your body because if your pH was out of whack, like you would not be okay. Like you would be in the hospital if your pH was out of whack.
What if it just makes you limitless? Like that's the secret.
Limitless or just passes the litmus?
Limitless, like that movie where that guy who became limitless, like it'll just be it'll just be enough alkaline water just gets you there. I think we can include that in our taste test in the future when we sit with our many non-environmentally friendly bottled waters. We'll reuse them. Calm down, listeners.
We'll reuse the bottle.
Yeah, we'll make some sort of terrible art project out of them.
But you can't leave them in the car because then the plastic from the water bottle will get into the water if you leave it in the sun in the car, and then it becomes harmful again.
Whoa, that's some education you're spitting right there, because I don't know that a lot of people knew that. So now they do. The 5 people who listen to this podcast will now know not to put bottled waters in their car. But yeah, no, it'll be perhaps we'll do a vision board that features all of these water bottles, like a 3D vision board, and we'll just like glue them onto a piece of cardboard and call it a day. I don't know. We won't be wasteful about our water intake.
Though there is a like it's either like $1,000 or like $5,000 like water bottle out there, and it's like diamond water or something. That's literally the name of it.
That doesn't sound like it's good for you, because does it have actual diamond in it or diamond flecks or whatever? Like it's like
no, that sounds dangerous.
Yeah, it's like those people who eat things that have like gold foil on them, like real gold foil. I'm like, why are you eating the gold? Like that defeats the purpose of both nutrition and like metals and precious metals. Like what? What is the reason for this?
I think that stuff like not the gold, but like that silver foil that they put on like some like Indian and like Middle Eastern pastries. Yeah, that's actually like carcinogenic.
Is it?
Yeah, it can cause cancer.
Oh no, but it looks so pretty.
It tastes so good.
I think the dessert itself tastes good, and then the stuff on top, like the marzipan pieces, right?
Yeah.
Like I know what you're talking about. Those are, I didn't know those were that. I mean, it makes sense that they're harmful because it is essentially just foil. But it's weird that no one has
Wait, that's like, foil and not silver? I thought I was eating like sterling silver.
I don't know what substance it is, but it's edible, clearly. So, I mean, I didn't think it could be too bad for you. I mean, it can't be as bad as all of the like ghee and like the oil that goes into making this dessert.
I think edible is not a good basis off of whether or not we should eat something, because technically shit is edible.
Ew, what? I don't want to think about that. I'm just about to like sit down to some dinner like later. I don't want to think about an edible like gross. Which actually, okay, so before you came up with that charming segue, I was thinking when you said edible, I was wondering if anyone has made any like desi desserts that are actual edibles. Like that, I feel like that would have a huge market. And it would be delicious to have these can you imagine like gulab jamun, but it's like infused with CBD?
Dude, actually, you mentioning that, I think there was an episode of Bong Appetit where he had like a Pakistani cuisine episode, and I think he made kulfi or one of the desserts that's like white colored.
Like faluda or something?
Yeah, it was one of the like the ras malai, kheer, kulfi, one of those kind of like white colored desserts, and he had like samosas I think it was pakoras, and all of this food that he made and like this keema, it was like all cannabis infused, and it was so delicious looking. I was just like, I would love to get like baked off of that.
That guy is pretty hilarious because that show, it's literally just things that you can food that you can put weed into, and it's pretty it's all encompassing, and what a concept. That would be like a very fun project to do after our water taste testing experiment.
That would do so well though. Like imagine the market for,
but it would have to be a secret. No one could know about it. We'd get busted if we tried to distribute this on either something.
yeah.
It would be very
It would require standing in the kitchen for long hours as well, and that would be the first problem.
We'd outsource it to some intern. We'd outsource it to the same intern who will hypothetically take over all the technical aspects of our podcast in the future. That poor staff will have to do all of this work.
The person who can handle social media for us.
Yeah, it's true. I can't handle any socials. I can barely handle producing and or distributing a podcast. So
how many years do you think it'll take until like social media goes out of fashion?
I think it'll turn into something that is even more annoying and invasive. It'll be like a chip that's in your like on your head, literally, and it'll just stream everything you're seeing, and everyone, it'll be like a panopticon of freaking the way that it'll work is everyone can see what you're doing, and all the time if they want to. It'll be like personalized channels. So it'll be
like that nosedive episode from Black Mirror.
Exactly. It'll so the input aspect of social media will go away in terms of, posting things, because everything will be streaming all day, every day. And I guess you could turn the stream off if you wanted to, but then you don't exist, because that's how that'll work. Is the moment you stop streaming, it'll be people don't see your life all day. Then it'll just be this existential crisis that you're in, and that's kind of where I'm at now. So I don't know that it'll be
do you turn the stream off when you go in the shower?
It'll be like a censorship type thing where it'll be those like blurry pixels that you see when people are trying to like
everyone just starts masturbating to pixels. That's the new thing.
Yeah, it'll be a lot like like the Sims when they use the bathroom or whatever. It's all pixelated. So that's what it'll look like in the future. Yeah, we've veered away once again from our episode topic, but that's okay, because we're also going to cover some of the have occurred in 2020. Just to recap, because we are about to enter into the new year, and so we'd like to leave all of this baggage behind.
Oh yes, and I'd like to close 2020 and never look back at it again.
Well, was there anything? Let's try and think of some positive things first, because before we delve into the rampant stupidity that we've witnessed, what were some good things that occurred? There had to be a couple, I'm sure.
We created a vaccine in record time.
That was very recent. I'm talking like earlier in the year when things were all garbage and there was darkness enveloping the world. What were some of the things that we could point to and say, yes, this was a positive that wasn't touched by some of the ugliness?
Personally, for me, being at the ocean on New Year's, that was really positive. And I think like at least I've had that memory to look back on this whole year. Like at least that one good thing happened.
Well, because of the pandemic, because everyone was quarantined, didn't air quality get better? And like general environment stuff was starting to look a little more like the skies were clearer because there wasn't so much pollution from human existence, like mucking up the atmosphere. That was kind of a positive. It was still
the air quality index dropped by like at least 100 points, which was phenomenal.
Yeah, that's like unheard of. That's such a like it reminds me of this before I completely blocked out the socials and the medias. I saw this thing where it was like humans are the disease and the coronavirus is the solution, or the vaccine or something for humanity. And it was just so I mean I guess that's technically true, like for the environment, because humans are so bad for the environment. But that's a good point, though. Nature reconnecting with the actual physical, tangible world was made a comeback, because people kind of had to do that. Unless people, it was one of those things where everyone was just on the screen all day, every day, because they literally couldn't go out. So that's
because they were working remotely.
Right. That's the other side of that. We could debate Zoom pros and cons, how that fared. I mean, pants became very optional.
That was definitely a positive of 2020.
Yeah, that I didn't mind that. There were only so many times I could feign technical difficulties, but when I did, no one called me out on it, which was nice, so I could turn my video off. But I mean, it's suspicious though, so most of the time I had to keep it on.
I think we all tried something new this year. Like everyone tried to try something new.
Yeah, I think people had to innovate, or they had to adapt, or be flexible on things they might not have been open to before. That's certainly the case. I think so too. I don't know that people became less consumer oriented. I think people probably bought more things that they didn't need, just out of sheer like retail therapy. So that could have been, that's probably like a minus. But then the economy took such a hit that it almost like balanced out, or that possibly could help balance out. But the only places that were benefiting from those things were these big companies.
That's what I don't understand. Like, okay, Amazon made so much money this year. Like,
right.
Okay, good for you, Jeff Beelzebub. But why did our economy do bad when like Amazon is literally like probably half of our economy?
It's so interesting that there's this sort of like evil feel from all these like big box stores / companies, because they're very convenient, so it's almost impossible not to use some form of these things, especially like if you really need something. But also, it's, if for the future, it's very grim, because then it's like there aren't alternatives, or there aren't other places that you can get probably better quality things, and or like supporting whatever's around you. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, because people love the convenience of these things, but the price that you pay later is so much bigger. And also,
right.
This year was the year that I heard the phrase Bill Bezos. Do you know?
Wait, where does this come from?
This is from the interwebs, and I had to think about it for probably longer than I should have, but I was like, why is this a thing? And that was interesting, because I think that people, rather than an individual targeting a person,
Where does the K come from? Who's the K?
Okay, but think about it. Switch the two, and what do you get in your head? Don't say it out loud. Switch the B and the K, and Bill Gates.
Oh, I got it.
It took me a minute too. It took me a minute, and
that's a good one. That's a really good one. I support you, internet.
That's the first. Yeah, it was the first year I encountered that phrase online. There's such a like strange, hole that, or not hole, but there's such a strange like niche on these platforms. There's so many different things that I don't know about, because I'm no longer on certain platforms, and then there's things that obviously, I guess everything obviously comes and goes,
but I think the trade-off is a lot. Like, you trade off a lot of like negativity that your mind consumes by staying on these platforms, versus like this was a great year for memes. Honestly, that was what I was going to say, for positivity.
Yeah,
great year for memes. But like, you also had to be able to see those memes, you had to read through so much trash.
Nonsense. Yeah. And also, I find that I'm more mysterious now that I don't have any of these, like daily posting type apps, because Instagramming breeds contempt, and and the more people see, the more they know, and the more they know, the more they come to the conclusion that they don't give a fuck. So I'd rather be the person who It's privately doing nothing at all. But maybe you don't know. You don't know I'm not doing. I might just be saying that. I could be doing the most interesting thing in the world, but you would never know.
And you're doing it for yourself. You're not doing it for like that photo on the gram. I feel like that's a trend that I've noticed. People start doing things to be able to like
forever.
Create that post.
It's true, and it's hard to take that serious. Like, that's why I said Instagramming breeds contempt, because the only way you have captured that sort of square in your little page is because you didn't appreciate the moment, you heathen. Like, how dare you Philistine? You just that beautiful sunset, it looks nothing like it does in the picture as it does in person. So don't.
But it really doesn't.
No, that's real. And that's why I think that the possibility of a future where everyone's just streaming their visibility, like their eyeline and everything, is coming to it will occur, because that feels like the next step in this weird, just dystopian, post-apocalyptic type world. That's how
I'm afraid to say post-apocalyptic, because I feel like that's like challenging the universe to show us more. Well, I don't want to see more.
I would much rather have post-wokeness than post-apocalypse. Post-wokeness.
Are you sure they're not the same?
Ooh, that's a hot take, because if you're in an apocalypse, you no longer care about wokeness. Like, that's no longer a concern. You're much more concerned about rampant zombies. Or
I already know where I'm going when the apocalypse hits. I'm going to the bunkers in New Zealand that all these rich people have made, and I'm going to sneak into one of them.
Aren't those all scams? What show was it that I was watching where it was just a ridiculous scam that some rich person made up? I think it was like a reiteration of Sherlock or Elementary, or one of those like true crime detective type shows that are like, where they go and they investigate a murder and it happened in one of these bunkers, but the bunker was just a giant scam that that someone came up with, and all of the the materials and everything inside were just not real. I really think, because
turns out to just be FEMA tents.
Because the worst case scenario, if that occurs and you go to these bunkers and stuff, like, you can't ask for a refund. Like, that person's probably gone who sold it to you.
I'll be like, this is the fire festival.
Yeah, it'll be a fire festival situation, except in bunker form, in these places. And it kind of reminds me of those those nuclear shelters that they built in like the 50s, where they're like, if it ever happens, you just go down to this shelter that I built, but then I think the radiation would still get to you eventually. Like, it's I don't think that's how that works.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I would go anywhere if the apocalypse hit. I think I might be. I don't know that I'd even survive the first few days or whatever, if whatever situation it might be.
Yeah, I don't think I'd ever survive. I've always really connected with that one like blonde girl that always dies in the beginning of every like horror movie.
That common trope. You're like running in your very low cut shorts for some reason.
And then she does something really stupid, and then she just died. I'm like, yeah, that's me. That's gonna happen.
It really does seem like we're living as characters in our own kind of like parody movie type situation sometimes when it comes to these sort of things. But I wouldn't want to be around for that long if the world was that bad, like the billionth season of The Walking Dead, which I haven't kept up with since like the maybe like 6th or 7th season. Like, I don't know what's going on in that show anymore, nor do I particularly want to, because the zombie makeup is cool, but at the same time, like, what's going on? Like, some of my favorite characters are gone. Like, I don't I no longer understand the like plot or like the timeline. Like,
yeah. I haven't watched The Walking Dead, but I've heard great reviews about it.
Well, I remember this was quite almost a decade ago when I had that Walking Dead party.
Oh yeah, the zombie party.
Yeah, the zombie party with the bone-shaped special cookies. That was a good time.
And the punch.
Yes, the zombie blood. That was
Yeah.
a fun fun addition. But
That was
getting
a
back
great
to
party.
it was. I think that's something I'm looking forward to, is having actual like get-togethers again in like a few, maybe not a few, maybe like 6 months. I don't know how long the vaccine's going to take to circulate, but
I think it'll take till at
eventually.
least June to like get to the point where it's circulating to us.
Yeah, and hopefully if enough people take it, enough like people who are in these areas that are most impacted, then maybe not even everyone has to take it, even though like it'll probably become mandatory like the flu vaccine, or like very common.
The flu vaccine is not mandatory.
Right.
I don't.
But it's common enough that people will take it without too much of a hassle.
I think if they make it like mandatory on kids, because I know that to be able to go to school, you have to have certain vaccines, like public schools. I feel like that'll really help.
Right. And it's weird because I think this time around, or not this time around, but in general, like kids aren't to like blame for this particular problem. Like it's not, I don't think, at least in the beginning, it wasn't spreading as much among kids. And obviously now it's like everyone, but I think the adults really fucked up this one, like with not actually taking it seriously, or as seriously as they should have.
Yeah, it's really funny how people blame kids, yet your kids can't go anywhere without you, really.
Right, exactly. And everyone's real annoyed that kids can't go back to school, but the minute they go back to school, it's obviously they're going to spread. Like it's a very logical sequence of events.
We've already played that out at like different universities, different high schools. Like, do you remember how cramped going to school was? Like,
it was the worst. It's still probably the worst. And it doesn't help that I think where was I was either watching or reading this. I think I watched it on like a British like jokey news show. I think it was the Russell Howard Hour. It's like the British guy who, not John Oliver, because he's in America, so I don't think
but it's like the UK version of him.
Yeah, it's like the UK version of, it's more like the UK version of Trevor Noah, or like the UK version of like one of those other jokey news shows, like late night shows.
Colbert.
Not even like well, maybe like Colbert. I don't know. It's the guy. He's his name is Russell Howard, and he's like British, and there's very little. He's just making fun of America most of the time when he references America. But in the start of the pandemic, he was talking about how like the kids who were still going to school when some certain schools were open, they would get kicked out, or they would get suspended or in trouble if they made jokes about being sick or having the coronavirus, or anything in reference to like joking about like someone who, or like coughing like in a joking manner. And I was like, that means a lot of kids got sent home, because like you can't, when you're a kid, like it is a little funny, like because people will do that, especially like little shithead kids, like they're gonna make jokes about it. So I'm like, that must mean that everyone got sent home. And then also, right before the pandemic started, or not right before, but while it was happening internationally and the full effects hadn't gotten the full effects hadn't taken place in America, I think it was in China, where one of the platforms that they were using for online learning, like the students figured out that if on the App Store they gave it a low enough rating, it would get removed from the App Store, so they wouldn't have to do homework. And they did it. They successfully got it removed. I'm like, damn, that's smart. Like, why didn't anyone do that for like Zoom or like these for these?
They probably turned that feature off immediately when they realized, like, no. This actually turns out that sometimes Zoom accidentally kicks the teacher out. Like my sister was telling me, because she's going to Zoom school. Sometimes Zoom will like kick the teacher out of the class, and it'll just be the kids in the class.
That's odd. That's anarchy. I love it.
Yeah.
No, there's like I don't know. There's the technical difficulty part of it is always hilarious. Because there's nothing you can't avoid. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. It's already like such a precarious situation. Like you can't get upset about a student or like even like anyone really who like is experiencing that sort of like problem, and it's a very compromised situation.
Can you imagine being like a kindergarten teacher over Zoom? Like, oh, that sounds like the most stressful job.
Is that even possible? I think they would just send lesson plans to the parents at home, like, hey, teach your own kid at this point, like foster their creativity, because you know, obviously we can't have like Zoom with a bunch of 5-year-olds. They're all going to start crying and like wanting to like go to the bathroom or have a snack.
My baby cousin's in kindergarten and he does kindergarten over Zoom.
Oh man, that sounds so, I mean, I feel like someone would have made a Blue's Clues type game out of it at some point, you know, like a more like a Dora the Explorer type TV show.
Right. I suggested that to my like coworker who was teaching his kids over like during this pandemic, and I was like, you should just create an app that teaches all the curricula but teaches it in a game, and they'll do it. Like there's this app called like Photo Math where like kids can like take a photo of their homework, and the app like helps you solve the math problem at the same time and teaches you how to work with it.
That sounds like it's going to put teachers out of business real quick. Like, we no longer need educators because all of the computers and robots will teach the children, and then we will have a truly advanced society because it won't have the pitfalls of human folly and
right
and biases and imperfections of human teachers. And it'll just be robots teaching the children, and they will rise up.
Everyone will have robot emotions in the future.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's funny because I think that most people don't realize that when they go back to in-person stuff again, if they do, because a lot of companies probably won't feel the need to, but they'll never be able to have a sick day again. We talked about this, or a snow day again, because it'll just turn straight into, hey, just hop on your online thing that we did for that 1 year. It'll be the same type thing. And you know, because even if you're sick, you can still log on, like we all know. So it's,
dude, that sounds terrible.
Yeah, that's a real bummer. So that's gonna be something that, you know, it'll be trickier to find a loophole to get out of doing.
Right? Yeah, just get onto the Zoom meeting. You'll be there with us, and I'll be like,
oh, yeah,
that sounds terrible.
Yeah, it'll be a real hassle and a half. Yeah. Oh, so yeah, let's do our recap. So what were some other things? I guess we covered a couple good things. Let's go to the other column, which has many, many, many bad things that happened this year that we would love to leave.
Aside from Queen Rona herself, a gender reveal party setting off orange skies and making me feel like I'm truly in an apocalyptic world.
That was a real, you know, that was a real situation.
Yeah. It sounds like it was made up. It literally sounds like something you would read on like the depths of like some what if subreddit.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where the truth was, you know, stranger than fiction, because I don't know that anyone even could have predicted that. And also, how are people still doing gender non-woke? Like, gender is such a like
gender isn't real.
Well, I mean, people like what? Like, you're gonna reveal someone's, like, watch it, like, posts out, like, yellow or green. You're like, what the hell's inside of me? Like, like having a gender reveal party would have been a great prank. Like,
it's green because it turns out it's an alien.
Whoa, that would be a great start to a bad movie.
They choose the color like red. They're like, oh, it's not yours.
Oh no! And all of a sudden it's revealed you're on like a Jerry Springer set.
Yeah.
You are not the father.
It's like a scarlet color.
Oh no! Oh man, that's a very awkward conversation to have with a baker. Like, someone, like, you cut the cake, and it's like, oh shit, red velvet, that looks delicious, but the implications are so bad.
Oh my god. I hope that does not come true, but now I feel like I've spoken it into existence.
Someone somewhere has thought of that and made it, and it was a very awkward party had by all. Like, yeah. All right, so what else
happened this year that was not so positive? We had the killer lettuce, we had those killer hornets.
That's true. A lot of killer things going around.
We had the plague, and like a few cases appeared in like Lake Tahoe.
Of the plague?
Yeah.
What plague? Like, the bubonic plague?
Yeah, the bubonic plague.
No, that can't be real. The bubonic plague is so bad. Like that's gone. Like that's not a thing anymore.
It's still kind of prevalent in like New Mexico, Arizona, I think, and like parts of California.
Like more than a few cases?
Not more than a few cases, but like prevalent in the sense that like it's still happening.
People got it. Okay.
Yeah, like we still have incidents of it.
That's concerning. I'm sure there's someone in a cabin in Tahoe somewhere like, oh crap. Like I thought I was gonna get here to get away from everything, and all of a sudden I'm the one who's got to get away from everyone now. Yeah.
You know something positive that came out this year? This year really revealed a lot of truth, I think.
Ooh, how so?
Truth in the sense like we saw we could see like all these celebrities that we idolize, and we're like, maybe not all of us idolize, but like we always look up to and we feel inspired by their choices and their lifestyle, and we aspire to be like them. We really found out like how they feel about certain people, how they feel about certain groups, how they feel about the pandemic. Ooh. A lot of that. And so it really gave us like, I feel like more humane, like appearances of them. They're not just so like up there and separated from, or we learned how detached they really are from reality. Like Kim Kardashian going on a like birthday vacation and a private island with her family.
I mean, we all kind of knew that those types of, figures were already very tone deaf and kind of shitty. So this year took a real hit on the Lil rappers. Like we never have to listen to Lil Pump or Lil Wayne again. Like that's
Trump called him Lil Pimp.
That was hilarious because I think Lil Pimp is a much better name, first of all, and secondly, it's like they were kind of like secondary canceled. Like anyone who associated, it's like it's worse than Kanye because at least Kanye had some hits, and now these other like these C-list rappers have no standing because they sided with such a like toxic person. So. Yeah, that was a real revelation. I'm like, oh, I'm no longer Gucci Gang. Like,
you no longer went to Howard Law, or what he called it, Howard University.
I don't really know what was going on with his affiliations of higher education. I still don't know if those are to be taken seriously. But Lil Wayne, I didn't realize that he would like. He probably just, was like, hey, Kanye did it, I'll do it, that sort of thing. But these aren't real people anyway. They're just
they're just holograms at this point.
Yeah, pretty sure their holograms are just like products of, these record companies that are generally evil and, very, exploitative. And so we don't have to concern ourselves with these muggles anyway.
Right? What else is something like wild? I'm trying to think. Like, I'm just so glad this year is like almost over. We have how many days left? I feel like I just count down the days at this point.
We have like a week. It'll be over in a week or so. It's also going to be funny to see how people, what people find to complain about when the pandemic is over, because they won't have anything to complain about. Like, the worst possible things that could have happened have already occurred. So anything else now that people want to complain about will be very trivial in comparison.
I think
So
we'll just go back to complaining about our straws.
our straw. The worst feeling when you drive away from a drive-thru and you forgot to ask for a straw because you have to ask for them instead of them just giving them to you.
The worst feeling when you ask for a straw and they still give you a paper one, and you're like, "This is not a straw."
Yeah, We'll go back to complaining about biodegradable and non-functional food holding items and utensils. That'll certainly occur. Well, what are some alternative New Year's plans now that things, and especially and holiday plans too? Because I mean, Christmas is in a couple days. People probably shouldn't be gathering, but probably still will.
I really hope they don't. Like, it would be so nice because like the caseload is going back down, and it's just so soothing to watch the numbers go down.
Yeah, well, we need to offer up some alternative celebration, celebration type situations for people so that they don't gather, that are remote.
Zoom.
Well, I mean, yeah, but it can't just be Zoom. There's got to be some other there's got to be some other element added to these video type gatherings, because those are getting real boring.
Have some really good drinking games.
That would be a fun one. I guess you could go somewhere outside, like outdoors, and just sit somewhere and then take a drink anytime someone's not wearing a mask. Get trashed real quick.
Yeah.
And then you would have to take like double drinks if it's like a whole family that is maskless.
You know what's going to be interesting when we take off our masks? We're going to have to really conscious about like the way our lips and our mouths are and everything. I feel like with masks, we probably like don't care about like the reactions we've been kind of having with our faces as much.
We're also going to be hearing that Future song a whole lot. Mask Off. That's going to make a comeback in a real big way.
Yeah. Mask off, mask off.
Yeah. It's like knew. He knew because his name is Future. He already knew.
Oh, whoa. That's some real hip-hop meme.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, why else? Like that. It's too much of a coincidence, man.
Have you seen that Johns Hopkins University remix of Wear a Mask, Please? But it's like the WAP song, but it's literally about wearing a mask.
Oh, there are so many things like that going on. I think I saw someone, it was either a TikTok or like a tweet or something, where someone was like with a Jack Harlow, what's poppin'? And it was like, what's poppin'? In parentheses, not your mask, I hope. And it made me feel some kind of way because I didn't want to click on it, and I didn't. I just saw the title and kept scrolling because I didn't want to hear what that person created. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be real fun to see how people will reflect on these mildly inconvenient mask sort of things, where people will be like, "Oh, it was terrible. We all had to briefly cover part of our faces for less than a year." Like, it's a real hassle and a half. And and I'm wondering if in certain Middle Eastern countries, like in Saudi Arabia or Dubai, if they have less cases because of the women wearing like niqabs or veils or whatever. No?
Nope. No.
It's because the men are fucking everything up. Is what's happening in that situation. Because the niqab, the veil functions as a mask, essentially, no?
I feel like they went on really good lockdown, and that's what really helped them. Like, they were really stringent on their lockdown, I know, in Saudi Arabia.
Right.
But I don't know, like, someone would have to do research and like assess, like, did wearing the veil make a difference?
It probably did, just among women, but I don't think that, if men weren't wearing anything, that it probably didn't make that big of a difference.
So from now on, men should wear veils too.
Yes. that should have been the case from the beginning, just to even out the double standard. But
I agree.
do
Everyone
we
is just
do we have any other things that I mean, there were so many things that occurred that were bad, but any other like over the top ridiculousness that we potentially missed? I mean, obviously all the election stuff, which which until a successful inauguration, we're still not sure what's up with that, because so many things are.
Today I was picking up some food, and I saw on like their CNN TV show over there, like on the screen. The caption was like, Trump is throwing a tantrum over election loss. And I just was like, same news, different day.
Right. It's been a month, bro. Like, like
right.
Move on. Like, you know, he of all people should know what it means to be fired. Like,
right. It is what it is. It is
yeah.
what it is.
I'm looking forward to all of the like people who were secret Trump supporters that will now try and pretend that they never were.
Oh, I feel like that's already started. That's already happening. Like, if people even get the vibe that you're anti-Trump, they will immediately do something to like kind of make you feel like, oh, they're anti-Trump too, even if they weren't.
Now, that's the real post-wokeness, in my opinion, because they're pretenders, but it comes off like you never really know, you know, like you're never like, it's, you know, it's people who protesteth too much that I'm the most suspect about, because do
you think it should matter when Trump is gone? Like, if people voted for Trump?
I think it will matter, but there would be no way to tell. So you'd have to kind of just figure out, like, there has
accept
to be,
it.
There's no like beacon shining over these people, like to spot them. But at the same time, you know, it's like, well, y'all lost, so it's fine. Like,
yeah,
we got to keep it going forward and just kind of block out that national shame, because otherwise it's just going to be even more depressing than it has already. And also, like, kind of it was embarrassing. These were embarrassing years. Like, I'm not
there was quite a lot that happened these years that was super embarrassing. Like the wall sounds very embarrassing.
Right. That's even more embarrassing, because it was so, you know, there were so many things surrounding it that were A, xenophobic, and B, like, illogical. Like, so many things defied like reason and like common sense that it was a little bit even just thinking about it now makes me kind of squirm.
Right.
So yeah, that'll hopefully go away. They'll dismantle it, or they'll make it into an art installation piece. I think that would be a great way to unify, you know,
they should just play Pink Floyd's Another Brick in the Wall, like across the whole wall that they've built so far.
I mean, they could knock it down like the Berlin Wall, but it would be so anticlimactic because there's nothing there. So
and then they would sell pieces of it, and then you could go to like where the wall was and buy those pieces, like in Berlin.
Well, or, you know, have just some kind of giant mural that will like indicate, you know, that it was quite unnecessary. It'll just say on the Mexico side, it'll just say "Enter here." in very fancy script. It'll be like it'll be a Narnia situation, you know, where beyond the wall, all sorts of wonders. Just be careful of, you know, the gun-toting citizens of the rampant pandemic.
Right? Just covered in graffiti of like all these warnings about America on the opposite side.
Right.
Like, just be aware, they always order extra large fries.
Yeah, you know, and that'll be a great way to sort of implement the vision that everyone had for this potential wall. You know, and as the year draws to a close, what are we looking forward to? Because that would be a good place to wrap up our third podcast of this very informative and entertaining show. What are some things that we can look forward to?
I look forward to going to a bar and dancing and spraying particles on someone else's face.
Whoa, you're gonna do that? That's kinky. That'll be
What
the
are you
new,
looking for?
that'll be the new version of bottle service.
People ask me what's my fetish. Exchanging particles. What are you looking forward to?
I might go to the zoo and kind of envy all the animals in the cages that were kept safe and well protected from humankind, and just congratulate them.
I think COVID spread in some zoos. I think some tigers got COVID.
Yeah, I mean, with that one show, I bet a lot of tigers were harmed. So, yeah.
Yeah, the Bronx Zoo.
Ooh.
I think their tiger got COVID, which is very.
I have questions.
How did someone reach the tiger? Like, how did they get to the tiger and give it to?
Yeah,
right.
That feels like we'll need a whole nother show to unpack that one. Like,
we should just turn into like a true crime series, but we just invest these kind of crimes.
The kind of crimes that no one wants to know details to.
And no one really cares about.
Yeah, it's that's it. I think that's a good place to stop for today. This has been the third episode of Two Square Girls.
Eminem signing out.
M squared signing out. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, and have a great rest of your morning, night, evening, 4 a.m., whatever time you listen to us.
The rest of the year. Yeah.
The rest of the year.
Well, we'll see you in the new year if we don't have another episode before then out of sheer boredom. So.
Yep, and we wish you a wonderful New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
New Year's.
Yeah, keep that mask on until Future says it's okay.
Okay. Not until you hear it playing out on the streets. Can you take it off?
Oh, all right, everyone. Thanks and good night.
Night.
Not joking, just joking. We are joking.